Okay, I'll do a countdown starting with 3, 2, 1. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Y'all about to learn some history today. We have some figures here who were a part of an explosive, exciting, and also, as I remember as a little boy, confusing time in my hometown of Lawrence, Kansas. When you hear the Dowdell family, you probably think right away of Rick Tiger Dowdell. We'll talk about that. But we have two members of his family, two of his brothers, his older brothers, and there's more to them than the tragedy that happened to Tiger. Unfortunately, when you grow up in a town and the town is as small as it is, that kind of news is the same perception forever. We're going to break that perception. Stephen, how you doing, man?
I'm doing okay.
Hello, Mr. Dowdell with the Jayhawk on. Were you proud of the Jayhawks?
Oh, dude, I'm just on cloud nine like you are. You know that? Yes.
The rep for the Jayhawk has spoken. Stephen, talk about growing up in Lawrence, your hometown, and I got a chance to know you as a little boy, but you talk about your experience growing up in Lawrence.
Yeah, and we grew up and we started off on Michigan Street, and we lived there for a while until our house caught on fire, and then after that we moved and we stayed with Elgin Woody, for a while, and then after that, then we moved to Wisconsin Street.
When you think about growing up in the neighborhood with the fellas, I know you were about sports. I got a chance to see that. Talk about how that neighborhood was all about sports.
Well, we all went to Clinton Park and we all played, basketball at Pinckney School. We played against each other, five on five, and then sometimes one on one, and we would go down to Daredevil.
Yes.
They called it, and we'd run up and down there, and then we'd go to playgrounds off in the summer. Jesse Mylan was
yes.
He was one of the instructors.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, and we had a softball, team, during that time, and we would go from little town to little town, and every now and then we would run into some prejudice.
Every now and then.
Areas.
Hey, Mark. What he mentioned Jesse Mylan. Randy, I'm sorry. What do you remember about Jesse Mylan?
Hey, man, this is great just to be here because Jesse Mylan was probably the forebearer of the movement that started over the Jayhawk plunge swimming pool. He was one of the first black teachers ever to get up into the Lawrence district school district, and he was the only kind of like role model we had back then. But he was like everything to us. But we were faced with a lot of things. Our house burnt down, like Jerry, Stephen, Treetop said, and but the hard times came when, as we were growing up, there was segregation like everywhere, and believe it or not, all we had was one pair of shoes and one pair of jeans during the school year. We never had a pair of shoes during the summer at all. We was always barefooted without a shirt. We lived in abject poverty, if you want to say it. Our dad was kind of like an alcoholic, like the whole town was almost in the black communities. So yes, but everybody else was the same way we were, the families. We just happened to be a large family, so we kind of like roam in packs. And that's kind of like what stood out between us. But what the segregation that went on, the eating down in the boiler room, blacks couldn't eat up into the lunchroom. They had to go down to the boiler room in Pinckney School to eat lunch. That boiler going about 200 or 300 degrees, heat school. So all those things came in, and I was the first one to segregate in Pinckney School because of the Brown Act, the Brown Law, when they passed that. So that's just a little insight into it. And but we were just, we were poverty stricken, and we weren't like most families, and we lost our mother and she was 36. We lost her. I was 11 years old. Jerry Stephen was 12 years old, and we lost her to leukemia. And when that went south, our dad kind of like, wasn't there. Post-war struggles, he's in World War II. So everything just came to, he just couldn't handle the pressure, and he just kind of disappeared on us. And so we had to do things ourselves. And that's just an insight into where we were, because we recall thugs. We were saying that people said that we would never make it in life. We all was like destined. We had threats on our lives since day one. They threatened our grandmother. They threatened everybody in our family. We did not.
Let me ask you this.
Be 21.
Let me ask you this. How do you rise from the negativity that you and your brothers were a part of from then to now? And do you still see any hint of what was happening during your early days going on here today in Lawrence, Kansas?
Oh, I could let my brother speak to it just as much as because he lived in Lawrence a lot post afterward, because I went to Malcolm X University when Tiger was killed, and I did like 6 years there in North Carolina. So I was absent from the struggle there in Lawrence after that, because I wanted to go to Africa because of what they did to Tiger. But the repercussions are still on the repercussions in Lawrence, Kansas, is they always conceal, and like they're holding that KBI report back. And I'm in touch with the man from Lawrence Times, Connor, and they're getting ready to uncover some pages in that KBI report. And I'm in straight contact with him, because everything's coming to fruit now, and I'm not going to give up, but it keeps coming up like we were right, but they covered up a lot of things. So for today, I just think it's just awful. I do. We fought with our hands and stuff. Firearms came. I think everything is awful now. I think that the racism it's come out, like Malcolm X says, they come home to roost. That's what's going to happen. That's what's happening right now. But Lawrence, Kansas, they covered up with the University of Kansas. And that's what kind of like had us suppressed. That's why that KBI report, after 50 years, they won't release it.
Okay, let me bring Stephen back into the conversation. He opened the door talking about your brother, Tiger, who I knew as a little kid.
Yeah.
And as I shared with you, I was like shocked, because I never knew anybody who got hurt like that. That's why, as a kid's mind, is why he's gone. How did you all have to deal with the media, potential lies, and just a bunch of other stuff that goes with that? How did y'all have to handle that?
Well, it was hard for us and to handle it at first, and so there was a lot of pressure on us.
Hold up, you know what you do? I want you to give a quick synopsis of what happened that night, so folks who may not be aware can understand what we're talking about, and then continue your thought. Okay. So just let us know what happened on that night. Okay,
and that night, I was married and I lived up the street, so when I went down, to the Afro house, and everybody was gone, out of the house, and then the next thing I knew, they said that, Tiger was shot in the alley. But there was other, witnesses that said that his girlfriend and her friends, came by the house to pick him up, because they said that the police were, following them. So he kind of, got in the car, with them, and when they drove around the corner of that alley that he was, shot and killed in, he got out and he told them to go on. And then he walked up the alley, and that's when they shot him.
What do you remember about the reaction immediately after this? Because, and I seem to remember this town was on fire.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
I'm sure.
and a lot of folks were surprised at the town this size. And they probably thought with a handful of black people who lived there, they found out right away we had a core of folks here who cared about what was going on, did we not?
Yes, we did, and that's what it was about. Yeah. So
now there have been books written on this. I see it every year, the anniversary of. When you see history like this that comes up every year that involves a family member, where do you go? I mean, it's an old story for you. In a way, it's probably a tribute, or in a way, maybe you're like, we don't need to talk about it. So what is your reaction?
well, the thing that helped me out a lot, through it all was I joined church and I became a deacon. So like I put some of that in the past, but don't get me wrong, I won't forget.
Yeah.
So that's what helped me out was that, and that kept me striving to go on.
Yeah. So Randy, you went to Malcolm X's school. At that time, did you become more militant, or did you become militant, or did you just become, I want to know?
It was like I was that was probably militant 2.0. That Malcolm X was one experience that I would never forget, because we fought the Klan nightly, got beat nightly, organized unions, went to school like 8 hours a day, practice martial arts. We were the whole deal. We was going to go to Africa and train people over there of our skills here. We were the real deal. We were trained in everything that you could train. I did that for 6 years. Still got PTSD, still can't sleep, still looking for those raids at night. I mean, like we was almost like the SEALs at one time. So, and we learned about everything. We learned engineering, we learned just everything. So that kept me from really going off the berserk ends, because I wanted to kill everybody that I seen in my past after he was killed. That was like, that death right there was something that I don't care, except the people that's been with it. It's kind of like a hush noise, like a grenade that goes off in your head and you just can't get where you're at. And then you're about 2 weeks later, you got a rifle in your hand and just like shooting at somebody or something. Everything's a cloud. And that's the way it was. And I wouldn't wish it upon nobody, but Tiger, he ran with us, but we all take blame because he was the youngest, and we had to, he always had to come with us because he didn't have nobody. So he grew up faster than we did. And there was a lot of uncontrollable things that happened, but he didn't have no business being killed. But that Malcolm X did. I actually would have got a degree there, but we did not go with the state's funding. We went with our own. So that's what happened there. But Malcolm X kept me pretty cool, but every once in a while it comes out, just like now, when we're talking about it.
Your brother's talking about the rage, the silent rage he had within himself.
I had that too at one time, I did too. And the night that he was, killed, I walked up to the police station with a pistol, and I fired at the police station, just,
frustration.
Yeah, frustration, and I was at the hospital when I seen his body. It was a horrible sight, and that sticks with me. Every July, it comes back to me.
The thing about the FBI report was Connor was telling me some things, and I already read it. They did a dissertation up there, and it's still in the Watson library. And my son Quam was not supposed to check it out, but they let him. And it was probably about a 600-page dissertation on everybody from Tiger, from childhood, from us to childhood, and everything about our dad or our mom. It was really complete. And that's when I got a synopsis into, oh my gosh, this is like bigger than I ever thought. And now they're still coming out with books. They're still trying to uncover this KBI report has like they stumbled upon his body. They did not even know, and they drug it back to the alley and put it in his left hand, and he's right-handed. There's things like that in a report that they won't release, and that's what O'Connor is doing right now, is trying to get that.
I remember the name of the police officer, I think, that was accused of shooting, Pat Garrett.
Yeah.
His name Pat Garrett. And I remember seeing wanted dead or alive signs posted throughout the city. You know.
Wasn't that something?
Yeah, I really. When you think about it today, it really is. I mean, we didn't have social media back there, but putting something like that, wanted dead or alive, was about as social media as you could get at that time. Did they ever find? Did it catch up with him? What happened to him?
Last time he was in Olathe, Kansas, and then after that, I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah, he was in Nebraska, and I don't know, but they said he took it so hard that he just had to resign. They had to get him out of town. They got him out of town that following day. They had no choice. I mean, this dude was marked. He was marked by the Weathermen Underground. And we had a lot of other entities that were infiltrating us with all kinds of oh my God, armory and just stupid stuff that we never even heard of. M1's Army issue, stuff like that was coming at us. So we was all just taken back, and we was almost acting like we're going to take this whole dang city back. It was like that. Everybody came to the house. We had meetings in the basements, and they was bringing stuff that we ain't never been even privy to. And that's when I knew it was more serious. And we all took an oath that night that we weren't going to come back alive. So that's how it went.
And I will never forget the horse-drawn carriage going down Massachusetts Street.
But that's
And when I see it today, it's hard for me to know, oh, that's my hometown. This is not Philly. This is not LA.
Right.
This was a smaller Lawrence, Kansas during that era. What do you remember on that day? Because the stores were open, I think, and people were shopping. The stores were open.
It didn't matter to us. Yeah, but it didn't matter to us,
Yeah.
one way or the other, because we was going to do it anyway. So
They told us that the Klan was getting ready to sniper at us, and so we was all loaded down. If you heard the pop, the whole town would have went duck. But we was all armed. They said that because we fought against more than that. We fought against that right wing, back. They rednecks. Now they're the militia. But those boys weren't playing back then. They had some stuff coming at us too. Matter of fact, some of the things, the theories, it's like that policeman did not shoot Tiger. It was another entity. So there's a lot of theories coming out here.
So do y'all think, and with your experience, how could you not, that the city of Lawrence had an end for your family for whatever reason that may have been, and maybe it became more personal to them whenever down the road? I mean, did you ever think, why us?
yes, because they looked at us as gangsters, and we had a gang, and we were out of control. So we had a lot of people after us. Yeah.
So you couldn't trust police officers either, could you?
No, we couldn't. But I remember that one time we was in our cars, we had our shotguns taped up to the dash, just like them, and we was and patrolling the neighborhoods.
Now, was there anything else that happened after Tiger during that era because of this, or other than maybe a scuffle or two, but anything major? I don't recall anything more major happening after that. Things eventually tempered down, right. But I could be wrong, and maybe there was something that was still smoldering. Anything you guys can remember?
Well, I know Vern Miller was the head of it all. And Vern Miller, like I said, he was going up to the campuses, busting up dudes drinking beer up in the rock chalk. And he was behind us. He said, well, I'm going to do something better. I'm going down there and wipe out the community in Lawrence. Vern Miller had us like peg legs. Then they started following us. It's and we all carried, it was we didn't have a choice. Going to our grandmother's house and saying we're going to kill all of them. It's are you serious? Just like that? You're just going to just kill us? And they said, yeah. And Vernon Newman, the only black policeman on the force, came and told her. So we knew he wasn't going to get by this because we were bad element. And like he said, we were the thugs.
It seemed like there were two things happening in Lawrence, Kansas. Locally, what was happening there and what was happening on the campus of KU.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I mean, he had two combustible moments going on simultaneously.
Right.
And while they didn't have anything to do with one another, the principle and the question marks were the same, who and why on both ends. Right. Did y'all ever have a share or anything with anybody from KU about this in the later years or anything, just to compare notes or times?
Yep, I went up there one time in, I think I was in 2000, maybe 2013.
Yeah.
And they gathered up there and stuff, and one of the Black Panthers was there. I forget his name now, anyway, he was up there and he was giving a speech up there. And then the other time was I was at the bookstore, after that guy, wrote that book, and people was in there signing the book and everything. So somebody asked him, and do you know the Dowdells? And he said, no.
Okay.
Have you ever talked to the Dowdells? And he said, no. No. And then there was a guy in the audience said, look, we got a Dowdell right here. And that guy was kind of shocked, so I just said a few things, and then that was it, because I was kind of, teed off because he wrote
Sure.
a book.
Sure.
Without our permission.
When did you learn there was going to be a book?
I didn't know until it was finished.
Nobody contacted y'all?
Nobody contacted us or not,
Wow. And there was nobody that could help y'all out saying, okay, this is wrong. We're going to reverse this, or whatever money he's making,
Nothing.
Wow.
Nothing.
Because you can't do that today.
No.
You'd be sued in a heartbeat. So before I let you guys go, how do you guys want the Dowdell family's legacy remembered in Lawrence, Kansas, a town, from what I can see as a kid, was kicking y'all? Mm-hmm. You first, Randy. What's the legacy?
Legacy is it's already there. We can go back. If we all went back, the whole town would stop wherever we were at. They would gather. The legacy is always going to be we came from nowhere, and then they still took it. And so the legacy for us is like every time we have reunions, we get flocked. People just come, but everybody around there, it's just like us, but they just didn't lose like us. But everybody's like us. They all suffered the racism, the segregation, and not having the swimming pool. That municipal swimming pool was that's a hill we died on, and we won. We died on that hill. That's when Gamel's got burnt down. The paint store. We all gambled on that. It was like either the pool or nothing. And that's where the pool comes from. But people don't know that. They don't know that we have blood. We tore the town down. They don't even say nothing about that until we get that pool. We was out Firebird. Remember that, Jerry? Firebird.
Yeah.
A little mud hole that fit 3 people in it. And they want the whole black community to go out there. Nah. So, yeah, I think they're going to remember us standing up to people. We stood up to people. Yeah, we still will. But
You answered my question, because to me, this is a moment of pride, because you guys are trying to be a part of the solution.
Yeah.
Even though you were outmanned, out-resourced, you were trying to stand up for your rights. And have your brother get gunned down, which is what he did. He got gunned down like that. That's a very ugly chapter in my hometown's history, and hopefully people learn from it.
I live it over and over every July for some reason.
Appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you, though. Let's just get the word out, man. The struggle is not over by far.
Okay.
And the way I want him, and remember it is like a statue or a memorial, a stone or something like that. And I was working on that at one time, but I lost all of the people that were supposed to be, helping me with it, because I wanted to get that started.
Well, there needs to be something in his memory.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, thank you guys so much. I think this probably, to me, this is the most probing interview I've ever done. But it was something I was familiar with. And all these questions I've asked you guys are the same questions I'm wondering why other people haven't asked. And you're telling me they didn't even interview you guys. Somebody's just out to make a buck on a bad situation.
And you have the authorization to release whatever you want on this Zoom, bro. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you too.
The homeboys, the Dowdells. How about that?
Give me a call, Deacon.
Okay, I will, man.
Thank you,
Give me some
gentlemen.
time to get home, man.
Thanks, you guys.
All right, man. Love you, man.
All right, man. Later.
All right. Yeah, thanks, man. You know, from what I can recollect, you know,
That's it.
you know, I'm getting older, and some of this stuff,
We all are.
it's not in my memory as good as it used to be.